Hi friends, today I'm making a video on how to become a teacher in Australia. What qualifications are required to become a teacher in Australia? At the same time, if you did your education in India, will you be able to become a teacher in Australia? At the same time, what are the job opportunities for teachers here, the salaries, and the most importantly, lifestyle of teachers in Australia? Today we have our friend Mr. Kuklak. He has been working as a teacher in Australia for 11 years and previously worked in New Zealand for 7 years. So, hi Mr. Kuklak, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hello, listeners.
If somebody wants to become a teacher in Australia, so what qualifications are required? And if somebody has done their education in India, will they be able to apply for a teaching job in Australia?
Yes, you can teach in Australia if you have the right qualifications. Right qualifications means you need to have your first degree. It could be a bachelor's, a master's, but followed by you need also to have a postgraduate degree, a diploma in teaching. So a teaching certificate is very important.
So we call it as actually Bachelor of Education in India. So, but probably you mean the postgraduate diploma means teaching degree, right?
Exactly.
So what is the first step you do?
So first step is trying to get your qualifications assessed. So in Australia you have the AITSL, so Australian Institute for Teaching, and this is where they assess your teaching qualification. So to do this, you'll have obviously to submit all your documentation, your degree, your transcripts, and it takes usually a process of 6 weeks, and I think around $1,400 to $1,500.
Once you got the certificate, so what is the next step?
So just following on this, you also have to have an English requirements.
Yeah.
And the requirements for that is, I think, on 7, 7, 8, and 8.
Whenever we apply for skill assessment itself, we need to have 8, 8 and 7, 7. So listening and speaking is 8 and 8, and reading and writing should be at least 7 and 7. IELTS academic version only. So once we got the certificate, we have to send it to teacher registration board and you get the teaching registration number, right? What are the job opportunities in Australia?
Jobs obviously in Australia, any state in Australia, so they're based on categories. So you have working in the metropolitan area, which is basically in the large cities, and followed by that you have small regional towns like country teaching, and remote teaching is still down there, down the bush. People who come from overseas tend to find jobs much easier in regional.
So basically nobody wants to go to the regional areas, so people wants to be in the cities, so that makes getting a job in cities becomes difficult, and getting a rural area, very remote areas, you probably get more jobs available.
Basically, if you are looking at secondary teaching, your salary scale starts from 90,000 Australian dollars goes up to 180,000 Australian dollars.
So it is 90,000 is the starting salary for any graduate teacher.
Right.
To it goes up to $180,000 a year.
Right.
So this is a yearly salary. So it's the same salary you get if you are teaching year 1 or if you are teaching year 10. So whatever subject you teach, you get the same exact salary. How do you find teaching job in Australia? Is it really difficult? What is the real difficulty in teaching?
Here, if we talk about the challenges in teaching, it's all about classroom behavior.
Okay.
Classroom management is a serious issue to consider, especially for new teachers from overseas. Mm-hmm. We have to understand the Australian culture and how students respond and how they behave. This requires some lots of professional development and professional learning to go through first. So these behavior and management issues to be able to know how to deal with the students.
So basically what I understand from this is managing students' behavior is the biggest issue in these schools rather than teaching. So teaching your content knowledge is the secondary, whereas managing those kids' behavior, who doesn't want to learn, who has no motivation. So that is the main issue here. So what I understand, is that right?
It is exactly right. So main issues for foreigners is always a behavior issue.
Lastly, how do you apply?
So you need to have your resume, and you need to have followed by a covering letter. and you also need to have referees, two referees for that, and you will also need to apply your covering letter has to meet the criteria set by the Department of Education about teachers. So you have to fulfill all those criteria.
Once you apply, they select and they call you for interview over the phone. Probably if you are overseas, you can have a phone interview, telephonic interview, is that I heard? And I also heard people can apply from overseas without work visas. If they apply to the remote schools and that they're happy with the candidate, they also do sponsor visas for them. Is that right?
It is right, and for this part, I think it's the selective countries like UK, like Ireland, like Canada, South Africa, New Zealand. There are selective countries which have easier, where applicants have easier access and where the conditions to be met are slightly different and probably easier.
The remote areas where the teachers' demand is there. If you apply from, doesn't matter whether you apply from Malaysia, Singapore, or India or China, they do take the teachers.
Teacher shortage is a very acute here, and in Australia, especially in rural Australia, and they're desperately looking for teachers, especially in the fields of science, maths, English. And they really, when they're desperate for teachers, certainly they can also afford to to ring and find applicants outside those countries, so which not necessarily OECD countries.
We mentioned, so as maths, science and English has more demand, and specifically it's a remote teaching, and regional areas has more jobs. And as we said, is $90,000 to $180,000 salary. Apart from that, if you are living in remote areas, you get something housing and other things. Is it housing completely no rent? And so that adds another $20,000 to $30,000 incentives. So it's overall what I understand is it's worth if you can manage these kids' behavior, and if you can take that little bit of pain and learn things a little bit quickly and manage these kids' behavior, then you will be fine, I think. Is that right?
Exactly right. So it's just the initial phase of learning to how to get into the system. Following that, once you are in the system, it becomes very easy, and you start enjoying teaching.
I have a question. So you work in New Zealand. How do you differentiate New Zealand and Australia? The job opportunities, salary, and lastly, student behavior.
Well, New Zealand is very similar, another OECD country, very like sister country to Australia. However, they have their own system. You have to also have the same qualifications assessed by the New Zealand Qualification Authority. So they have a section for international qualifications assessment, and you have to get that done. And also, if you have already had a postgraduate diploma or whatever, PGC or any other teaching degree related, you can also have this assessed. And same to Australia, they have an IELTS English requirements, which is 7. Teaching salaries, they start with probably 65, 70,000 New Zealand dollars and go up to a scale of 120,000 New Zealand dollars per annum. And classroom management, it's also similar to Australia. However, it all depends. Okay, if you're outside Auckland, outside those cities, if you go in again those small cities, the students' behavior is more manageable. And again, it's a perspective of everyone. If you're teaching more Maori, more indigenous kids, there obviously the problems are very similar.
And lastly, job opportunities. Do they have a lot of job opportunities compared to Australia, or less jobs actually?
They advertise on the Ed Gazette. Unlike here Jobs W, you have Ed Gazette website which always advertises, and the prospects are there. And again, they have heavy shortage of teachers. Same in those regional areas, cities, where like they are always desperate for maths, science, and English teachers.
Thank you very much for sharing that valuable information. So you can apply jobs from India with the Indian qualifications, but you need to have a normal degree with a teaching degree. Teachers are highly paid, and its lifestyle is also relaxed, except you have to deal with some student behavior. Thank you very much.